Okay, I failed the motor mount a little bit and mocked it up on a chassis, and I believe I will stay with this configuration for a while, or maybe I will not alter it. Now this configuration allows me to have transmission as close as possible to the frame rail, so there's no free space between them. To achieve this result, I did the following. So I have filed that piece of motor plate, as I said before. So I filed that piece, both of them, and after it, and a couple of test mockups, I filed this in depth here, as you see. It allows me to get it deeper in the frame rail. From that side, I just filed this piece up top, like 2 millimeters, I believe, and that's all for that side. So now when transmission is, let's say, ready to be placed in the frame rail, next step is to fabricate some side mounts for it first. After it, I will have to fabricate some mounts here, because as you see now, when it's installed, just a second. Okay, I hope you can see now we have less clearance between the spur gear and shock tower. I will need to reinforce the shock towers and to make them strong and not interfere with the spur gear. So next step is to fabricate all the mounts for this side and for that side. And yes, as I intended to place the battery here, I will also need to fabricate some kind of battery holder. Perhaps I will use stock scx10 battery plate. I don't know. I will need to test fit it under the body and to the chassis. And before I do it, I will need to lengthen this drive shaft a little bit to have the whole picture of space that I have and that I will need to mount all of this. For now, I am quite happy with the result. So this position of motor leaves a lot of free space here, and side firewall of the body starts somewhere here, I believe. So when the battery is mounted here, we will have some extra free space here between the battery and this mount. We will have some place here over the motor to place some electronics. So anyway, now I will have to fabricate some side mounts for this transmission, to drill some holes in the frame, to mock it all up and see the final result. And again, test fit, check test fit, adjust test fit and stuff. Okay, I fabricated some side brackets for the motor mount. Actually, they look like this. So it's a piece of aluminum angle, just like this one. So I took this long one, cut it the size I needed, drilled some holes, removed excess material. I did it all using some hand tools, so you don't need a workshop to do it. Just some small wires, some files, and some drill to drill the holes. So actually it looks like this. I made two of them from both sides. I had to drill a hole in frame rail here and here to mount this one. Now we will screw them in place and try to mount the motor itself with the tranny and see how it looks. I stripped off the front of the chassis a little bit. I removed some shock towers, and I will show you I had to trim this piece. So I just cut it with hand scissors because it was interfering with this new bracket. So once assembled, it will look like this. So as you see, it will sit almost with no gap, kind of tight fit. Anyway, let's proceed with installation. I haven't tried it off camera, so we will see together how it will look like. Well, it turned out that installing this motor mount assembled with the tranny and the motor itself is kinda hard. I had to unscrew this part, I mean a bumper from the chassis, and move chassis rails apart to fit it inside. So I will have to do something with this mount. I believe I will have to trim the top part of this mounting. I'll show you. I mean, to cut this piece off. Perhaps it will be easier to assemble it all together. Anyway, it will be in the future. Now we will need to mock it up to assemble everything together and check what we have now. So at the current moment it looks like this. So motor is in position, tranny mount itself is in position. Now I screw it on top screws from both sides just to make it sit in place, and after it we will try to mount the body and mount the battery and see how it all assembles, how it sits, and if we have enough space for all the components. Okay, I tightened screws of this mount. It wasn't as convenient as it was intended first, but anyway, I did it. So now we will put the battery on and the body itself on, and take a look how much clearance do we have under the body for the components. Okay, here's our battery. As I already showed you, it's 2S LiPo in hard case, almost 7 amps. Okay, it sits under the body, just near the firewall. Okay, body is in place. I will try to show you. Okay, as for the battery itself, I believe you can see it. Just a second. As you see, we have some space between the tranny and the battery itself. So there is enough space. As for the front of the truck, body sits kinda low, almost like I wanted it to sit. Anyway, I will have to check the clearance here up front. Perhaps I will need to trim the radiator itself. I will need to check it, or maybe some body posts needs to be adjusted a little bit. Because now I have these side pieces on the body, they are glued to the body, so it's hard to see the available free space, but anyway, I'll try to do it. Because I believe in front the body itself could sit a little bit lower, and I need to check how we can achieve it with the current setup. I found the issue with the front part of the body. The body doesn't sit as low as I wanted, because this part of the motor, this plastic piece on the motor interferes with the body post, with the stop body post on the body here, so I will need to either trim it a little bit to see how it goes, or maybe I will need to clock the motor itself, but if I clock it towards the right wheel, this plastic piece will interfere with this inner fender, and perhaps even with this body post, so I believe it will not work. And if I clock the motor this side, here is the place for the servo, and this part will interfere with the servo, and putting this output on the bottom will not work, because here we will have some steering links, so they will interfere with the motor wires. That is why I will have to trim this piece, I believe, and see how it goes. Initially I will try to take it out and see will it work without it completely. And after it I will be able to decide will it work or no. The hard part is that I have some wiring here, and I believe I glued it to this piece, so I believe I will have to unsolder something or unglue something. Anyway, I will try to do it off camera and I'll let you know.